Hi, everyone. My name is Deborah Krant. On behalf of Litquake, thank you so much for coming to Lit Crawl San Francisco. Today, tonight, tomorrow, depending on where you are in the world, it's the closing session of Litquake, San Francisco's literary festival, and we're in the midst of a virtual Lit Crawl, which is running 10:30 in the morning to 10:30 at night San Francisco time, with 25 events and featuring 7 cities around the world. This nonprofit festival is nearly 100% free and could not exist without the generosity of our individual donors. If you believe in keeping literature a key component of San Francisco's cultural landscape, please consider dropping us a few dollars. Every bit helps. We accept donations on Venmo at Litquake, on PayPal at info@litquake.org, or directly on our website at litquake.org. After the event, you'll be asked to fill out a short survey. These surveys are really essential to our efforts to keep Lit Crawl free. So now let's get started with the event from Cheltenham, Deep in Earth by Moth Sanctuary Productions.
It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden that lived to you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child and she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea. But we loved with a love that was more than love. I am my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago, in a kingdom by the sea, the wind blew out of the clouds, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsmen came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels not half so happy in heaven, when envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the winds blew out of the clouds by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, could ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And the stars never rise, but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. So through all the night tide I lay down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea. There is a plague upon this world. I have seen it. Know all too well the horrors it can inflict. Blood upon the lips, a loss of breath, the endless act of dying. Some call it misfortune, others an act of God, but I see it for what it truly is. A plague is a hunter, and like all hunters, it kills indiscriminately and cares not for what its prey leaves behind, for who it leaves behind. It has taken so much from me. My mother, my foster mother, my brother, my wife. Which brings me to here. Deep in earth, my love is lying, and I must weep alone. 6 years ago, a wife whom I loved as no man loved before, ruptured a blood vessel in singing. Her life was despaired of, and I took my leave of her forever and underwent all the agonies of her death. She recovered partially, and again I hoped. At the end of a year, the vessel broke again, and I went through precisely the same scene. Again, in about a year afterward, again, and even once more again, about a year afterward, and always at varying intervals. Each time, I felt all the agonies of her death, and with each accession of the disorder, I loved her more dearly and clung to her life with more desperate pertinacity. But I am constitutionally sensitive, nervous in a very unusual degree. I became insane with long bouts of horrible sanity. At moments when she would rest, I would write. And in the writing, a curious thing occurred. Women would die and leave their loved ones behind to mourn. I came to realize that my mind was preparing me for what was to come, for this very moment. But the cruelest irony is that while I wrote of my own personal hell, when I gave my fears a voice, these writings became my most popular work. Once, upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as if someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, rapping at my chamber door. "Only this, nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished them on. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books a cease of sorrow. Sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor, entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor, entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently, my soul grew stronger. Hesitating then no longer, "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so faintly you came tapping, and so gently you came rapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence went unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, and with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door. Perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. Perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven? Ghastly, grim, and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore. And tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though his answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing, and no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door. Bird or beast, on the sculpted bust, just above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said, "Nevermore." Startled, and the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom a merciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of never, nevermore." But the raven, still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, Straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. And upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, with no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining with the lamplight gloating over. But whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating over she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim, whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God has lent thee, by these angels he has sent thee, respite, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, where the tempter sent or where the tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate, yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by the heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within a distant Aidenn it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels named Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of the lie thy soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming. And the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul, from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted nevermore. Who would have thought such words would prove to be so prophetic? She is gone, and by no feat of will or imagination will she be seen again. By anyone. How cruel to allow us to feel such feelings of love so intensely, only to have them brazenly stolen. For whose entertainment is our pain made folly? Lo! 'Tis a gala night within the lonesome latter years. An angel throng, bewinged, bedight in veils, and drowned in tears, sit in a theatre to see a play of hopes and fears. while the orchestra breathes fitfully the music of the spheres. Mimes in the form of God on high mutter and mumble low, and hither and thither fly, mere puppets they, who come and go at bidding of vast, formless things that shift the scenery to and fro, flapping from out their condor wings invisible woe. That motley drama, oh, be sure it shall not be forgot, with its phantom chased forevermore by a crowd that sees it not, through a circle that ever returneth into the self-same spot, and much of madness and more of sin and horror, the soul of the plot. At sea, amid the mimic rout, a crawling shape intrude, a blood-red thing that writhes from out the scenic solitude. It writhes with mortal pangs. The mimes become its food, and seraphs sob at vermin fangs and human gore imbued. Out of the lights, out all, and over each quivering form, the curtain, a funeral pall, comes down with the rush of a storm, and the angels, all pallid and wan, uprising, unveiling, affirm that the play is the tragedy, man, and its hero, the conqueror, worm. Forgive me. My grief, it overtakes me. Deep in earth, my love is lying, and I must weep alone. I have felt this grief for as long as I can remember. Since my hand last left my mother's. From childhood's hour, I have not been as others were. I have not seen as others saw. I could not bring my passion from a common spring. From the same source I have not taken my sorrow. Could not awaken my heart to joy at the same tone. And all I loved alone. Then, in my childhood, in the dawn of a most stormy life was drawn from every depth of good and ill, the mystery which binds me still. From the torrent or the fountain, from the red cliff of the mountain, from the sun that round me rolled in its autumn tint of gold, from the lightning in the sky as it passed me flying by, from the thunder and the storm, and the cloud that took the form when the rest of heaven was blue, of a demon in my view.